Mark Skaar on the Skaar Kaard on 103.7 The Fox. Proud to bring in Joe Bouchard. How are you, sir?
I am great.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Joe Joe, of course, longtime member of Blue Oyster Cult, is getting ready to release album number 6 called Strange Legends. So we're here to talk about that. I know we'll get into Blue Coupe as well. Joe, let's talk about this record. I think you've been working on it for a couple years, right?
Yeah, just about, not even that long, maybe a year and a half. This one came together pretty easily. Once I did the recording of the basic tracks, and it was a lot of fun put together. I got a great drummer to play on it, Mickey Curry, who plays with Bryan Adams and a ton of other bands. He's got like 40 gold records, and he was a dream to work with, really, really easy and a lot of fun. And, it's got some songs. The single is doing really great now. It's out. It's called Forget About Love. Very sort of up-tempo rocker with good bluesy guitar licks through it. I'm pretty happy way things are working out.
And you've got your own imprint, Rock Heart Records, right?
Yes, Rock Heart Records. My brother and I, we signed with this manager in California, and he said, one of the things I want to do is start a record label. And we're thinking, you got to be out of your mind. In the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of a financial disaster, you're going to start a record label? But he came through. We got a nice deal. Involves distribution all over the world. And my album will be out the end of July, and then my brother's album will be out in October. So we've got other projects planned for after that. So, everything is working out great. I mean, it's just hard to believe that it actually came together. But our manager really wants to focus on the fact that we have been, part of the initial Blue Oyster Cult for decades. And then now, even as in our later years, we're just as creative as ever, coming up with new things all the time. So this gives us a plan to get it all out. So I'm happy.
We're talking with Joe Bouchard, and let's talk about Strange Legends. Sci-fi writer John Shirley did a lot of this with you.
Yes, John's an amazing writer. He's written dozens of books. But he also writes lyrics for the current Blue Oyster Cult. And he's a singer himself. He has a band and puts out albums, but very creative. Lots of great ideas. The second single I'm putting out later in July is called She's a Legend, and that's one of his lyrics. And I love that song. It's just, it's got all the sort of, science fiction spookiness of the early Blue Oyster Cult, and but modernized to today's world. So I think that's going to do very well too.
Joe, can you speak about the concept for Strange Legends itself? Where did the title come from?
Well, there's the song She's a Legend, and also there's another song called Strangely in Love. Okay. So it was a matter of like, well, what should I call this? And then Strange Legends, you start, you don't want to use something that's already been used 50 times. So I looked it up, and nobody had used it. It's like one of those things. Hey, this is, and I think I can speak for my days with Blue Oyster Cult, and also since then it's been, a real whirlwind of different music projects, and I must say, I've run into some strange legends. I went to Mick Jagger's New Year's Eve party in 2008. It was great. Mick was a ball. He was great. And Pete Townsend. I ran into Pete Townsend somewhere along the way. And I remember he was in a bar, and my friend introduced me to him, and I said, Pete, man, you're my biggest influence. I love your stuff. Such an influence on me. And then he says, so what are you doing now? And I go, and I'm thinking in the back of my mind, Pete Townsend asked me a question.
That's true.
I'm supposed to ask him the question, so he asked me the question. So he was very nice, though, you know, and, you know, there's others, lots of others, you know. We got to work with Kiss and Rush and Aerosmith and, you know, the whole gang from the 70s, you know, and it's all good, you know, and the catalog of Blue Oyster Cult music is just bigger than ever these days. Mm-hmm. You might have played a few songs in your day.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I was in a band that covered Don't Fear the Reaper, so, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are a brave man.
It's not as easy as it looks.
I know. It sounds easy, but when you start playing it, you figure, oh, it's kind of complicated. You got these cascading vocals. You got a continuous guitar part. You got to keep steady all the way through. And then you got that wild bridge that just goes off into, you know, another universe. So, but yeah, that's a fantastic song, and I was really glad to be a part of recording that back in 1975, 1976 it came out. You know? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Talking with Joe Bouchard, I wanted to make mention that you're doing a Kinks song, too.
Yes. I've loved the Kinks from when I was in high school, and I was covering Kinks songs. And just so happened that this one, I started working on it kind of like an acoustic song. Mm-hmm. But once you get into the Kinks, you got to rock it hard, you know. And I said to Mickey, as we were cutting the drum track, he says, you know what to do on this song. You played it, you know. And he really did a great job on that one. And I'm very, very happy I did that. I mean, I had other original songs, but I thought, I wanted just the right combination of songs to make this a great experience for the listener, you know. I think I'm getting better as a producer. I have to produce myself now, you know. Back in the day, we had teams of producers. But now it's kind of like do it yourself, and hopefully, you know, everybody will like it. And I think as a producer, I'm just getting better all the time. So it's definitely the right thing.
We're talking to Joe Bouchard about Strange Legends. Something else I wanted to talk about, I alluded to earlier, was the trio Blue Coupe, who I told Joe just before we started that about 4 years ago I had the pleasure of seeing Blue Coupe live at Taste of Minnesota. And of course, it's you and your brother and Dennis Dunaway from the original Alice Cooper group.
I played with Dennis for over 30 years in different bands, not just Blue Coupe. And we've had an incredible ride, I must say. And the Blue Coupe album we just did a Blue Coupe album that came out in November, and really was well received. Lots of creativity. We did the album old school, you know, with everybody in the studio at the same time. We rehearsed, you know, for a year, you know, to get the songs just right, and it was a lot of fun to do. And every time we do it, we played in Sweden last summer at the Sweden Rock Festival. Made a full video of the whole thing. It was the best show we ever played. And we were supposed to play this summer, but because of the virus, everybody's at home and working on other things. But we're going to make hay. You know, we just did a video for a charity, and we've got another video that we'll be doing soon for Blue Coupe. So, yeah, it's really great. I'm glad you got to see that show.
Me too. I had a blast. It was great.
Yeah. Great time.
Yeah, and the record that Joe refers to is 11 Even. We played a couple tracks on this show off of that record, and we'll continue to do so. We'll sprinkle you in.
What's that?
We'll sprinkle you in.
Okay, that sounds great. I mean, not all radio stations can do that, but, we appreciate any time we get some airplay,
Well, I remember an interview, Joe, with Ian Gillan, and he was talking about, because Deep Purple's getting ready to put out a new record in August.
Yeah.
But he would talk about, it frustrates me that classic rock stations will put a new record out, but the classic rock stations just want to play Smoke on the Water and Highway Star. Well, in the case of Blue Oyster Cult, it's always, 2 or 3 songs. It's Burning for You or Don't Fear the Reaper. Great, or Godzilla. Yeah. Great songs, but you got more great songs.
Well, if you can sprinkle them in, that we appreciate that greatly, I mean, I love Deep Purple. The guy that produced Burning for You is the guy that produced Highway Star.
Martin Birch.
And now, I don't have Martin Birch. He's retired, completely retired.
Yeah.
So when I'm producing myself, I say, what would Martin say? Would Martin just yell at me and tell me, get back and do it again, Or he'd say, oh, no, that was perfect. Don't touch it. Just leave it, So I channel all the experiences I had with some of the great producers back in the 70s and early 80s. And they're the people that make me what I am today, so.
Probably even people like Sandy Pearlman, no doubt.
Sandy Pearlman, big influence. I wrote a song for Sandy on my last solo album called Renaissance Man, because that's what he was.
Mm-hmm.
He was the smartest guy in the room, and he had an ability to think ahead of the curve, or ahead of the, what's hot today, but what's going to be hot tomorrow, And very inspiring character.
Talking with Joe Bouchard about Strange Legends and other things. I guess I like to ask a lot of my guests, what have you been doing since the pandemic in March?
Watching a lot of movies. Watching a lot of movies. I'm not really a movie buff, and there's a lot of old movies that I'm just not familiar with, but I actually wrote one of the first song on my album is called The African Queen.
Okay.
And that was taken from, I was watching this movie called The African Queen with Humphrey Bogart, and I said, I've got to write a song about this movie. And so that's the song that kicks off the album, The African Queen, based on the movie. It's nice when I have something really specific to write about, and that was one that came. I felt that it really came easy. I spent a lot of time working on it, but just the idea and how it should sound in my head just all came together. And yeah, that's a good one. And there's others on the album that sort of relate to that too.
Joe, thank you so much for being a part of the show. We appreciate it. We're looking forward to Strange Legends, July 31st. If people want to keep in touch with you, how can they go about doing that? JoeBouchard.com is my website, and connects to everything that I do. And if you want to send me a fan mail, you can. There's a contact button on the website. I love to hear from the fans, so that's great. Joe, thank you so much for your time and continued all the best. Hey, thank you so much, and I hope to get out to Iowa sometime when things come back. Love to have you. That'd be excellent. Joe Bouchard, Strange Legends, July 31st, Rock Heart Records for Joe Bouchard. I'm Mark Skaar on the Skaar Card on 103.7 The Fox. Thanks, Mark.